Hello lovely people, it's me Nicola, back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. I live in British Columbia, Canada, and in case you haven't met me before, I love to sew, knit, crochet, sometimes cross stitch, sometimes other things. But I always seem to be making something because my hands just won't keep still. I like to call my crafts productive fidgeting. Because, knitting and crochet is what we had before there were such things as fidget spinners. So before I forget, I thought I would just film this little segment to start the next vlog, because I've made some things in the last couple of days and I'm kind of excited about them. So I thought I'd show you my progress so far. The last time I talked to you, I was about to make 3 of the large denim robin storage pod thingies with the grommets. I did that, and then of course my ADCD brain decided it wanted to do something else. In case you don't know what ADCD stands for, attention deficit crafting disorder. I just made that up, but I think it applies. It definitely applies to me. I cannot make hundreds of the same thing over and over. It's just not me. And so, of course, once I had gone mad on upcycling the denim and the quilting cotton, I had to go on to something else. I've had all these remnants sitting in my sewing room since working at the fabric store. I have quite a lot of small pieces of various things. And one of the things I wanted to try was a fuzzy pencil case, because not long ago I saw a tutorial by Joanne on Joanne's Sewing Studio, and she made a fluffy bag. I can't remember what the exact fabric was. It could have been faux fur. But I have a lot of remnants of things like chenille and fleece and stuff like that. I do have some fur, but I don't think I'm going to try making bags out of that. I think it would just be too much like hard work. So what I did is I started experimenting. Now, it took me 4 attempts to get where I wanted to be with these things. So I had this fun fabric in the stash, not a huge amount of it. It was just a remnant that I brought home that has quite a big flaw through part of it, but enough that I can cut small pieces out to make pencil cases or makeup bags or crochet hook bags or whatever you want to put them, really. A zipper pouch is good for a billion things, right? I have quite the collection of not multicolored, but many colored zippers. Now, this one is bothering me. This was my first attempt, and I put a beautiful lining in it. And I decided I was going to understitch the lining. So I didn't top stitch through all the layers. I didn't go through the chenille after I had inserted the zipper. I just understitched through the lining and the seam allowances. The challenge with that was that when I came to sew the side seams, I was forced to have the zipper teeth going the way I didn't want them to go. Didn't really want them to be pointing towards the outer. I wanted them pointing towards the inner fabric. So what ended up happening with that, it works okay on this end, kinda, but actually, no, it doesn't. This is the end it doesn't work at. So because the zipper is almost twisting on itself at the end here, it catches. And so if you pull it all the way closed on this end, it's hard to open again. And I just wasn't happy with it. I didn't mind that the zipper went into the seams. I didn't really want to do tabs because it was really handy to start with a zipper that was longer than I needed and have it open at one end because of the top stitching or understitching, and then trim it later. But I'm just not completely happy with that one because the zipper is catching. And I think if anyone wanted to buy it and then they tested the zipper out, they'd be really disappointed with it. So that was the first attempt. So what did I do with this one? This one, I tried something called the Butler method. A lot of other people have used it. You, hang on a minute. Okay, so with this method, you fold the ends of the zipper off to the side, like at a right angle. You sort of tack them down so that when you sew your zipper in, you make sure it falls short of the side seam and it just sort of disappears into the top seam of the bag. So I did that. I just left this end going into the bag seam. And then this end stops short of the end. So there was no issue with it catching. It opens perfectly. However, because I obviously didn't quite line up those bits too well, there's about 1/4 of an inch difference between the visible part of that side and the visible part of that side. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look good either. I still tried the understitching on that one. But then I did it like that, and it was like, no, that's still not exactly how I want it to be. Then I made one out of this fun chenille. It's sort of a rainbow with pink. I don't think rainbows officially have pink. Now this one, again, I did the Butler method type end where you fold the ends of the zipper back and put them into there. I still understitched. And I think I did this one the same way. And I dislike this one also because when I have zipped it up together, the ends of the zipper were closer to each other, but there was a big gap left here. I didn't get the spacing right here. I didn't have the end of the zippers going in close enough to my seam. So I wasn't happy with that one either. So this was number 4. And this is the one I was most happy with. I went back to just putting the ends of the zippers into the seam. I didn't mess about with turning the ends of the zipper out 90 degrees. I just put them in the seam. The difference was I did no understitching. So there's nothing here to hold the lining down except for a little bit of pressing. But what this means is that when I was sewing my side seams, I could push the zipper teeth towards the lining, which is what I wanted to do in the first place. And so when you turn the pouch out the right way, the zipper isn't all twisty and it works great. So, 4th time lucky. That was all yesterday. Today, I had friends over for tea this afternoon, so I spent the morning doing a little bit of cleaning around and getting the teapot ready and the coffee pot ready. And after they left at 3, I made dinner so that it was done and I didn't have to rush back up later on when it was time to eat, to throw something together. And so I came down here and I had the bright idea of using this lovely granny square fleece. So these are just, well, as you probably know, this is my most favorite fabric, or my most favorite fleece fabric in the whole wide world. Made 2 sweaters out of this and a beanie, and I still have lots left. So again, I just put the ends of the zippers right into the seam. I did not top stitch or understitch. Isn't that lining lovely? Let's turn it all the way out. It's not a batik, but it kind of looks like batik. And I made sure to change the thread in my machine, so I had pink thread. You don't see the thread at all except on my label and on that very last little seam where I'm closing up the gap in the lining. But I love it. And the good thing about this was I decided to make 5 at once. So I batch sewed 5 of them. I used different colored zippers. And so there's 2 different kinds of purple. There's a teal, there's a lime, and there's a pink. So I think my zippers are running smoothly most of the time. These are ones I bought in a big pack from Amazon. So, you know, sometimes you think, oh, are they going to be okay? That lime one definitely runs more nicely than some of the others. I also have some that I bought off my friend Jane because she had a load a long time ago and she sold me some or gave me some. Can't remember which. And some of these are the ones I bought myself from Amazon. So they're all very similar except for the placement of the fabric because of how I had to cut the fabric from the remnants I had left over from making the sweaters. I didn't want to cut into the big pieces of it in case it didn't work out. But I'd say that worked out. So it looks like I'm going to have another sewing day tomorrow. I don't call this a sewing day, even though I made 5 zipper pouches. This is not really a sewing day. This is a squeeze a little bit of sewing in among all my other activities that I wanted to get done. But I think those came out really well. I think I will revisit the chenille tomorrow. I have a whole pile of chenilles and fleece over in that closet recess over there, some of which I've probably forgotten I have. So what I think I should probably do is empty out that area over there and consider which of the fabrics would make good zipper pouches like this. These are so easy to make. All I did was I actually measured a Kleenex box to see about the sizing. I wasn't really sure what size to make them. Sometimes you get the proportions wrong. Something can be a little too narrow or a little too wide, and it just makes the whole thing look off. And so I actually measured a Kleenex box, and it was 9 inches by 4 inches. I thought that's a good size. That's a good usable thing for like pencil case or a makeup bag or a crochet hook storage bag. And so I just added 1 inch for 1/2 inch seam allowances and cut the pieces as one. So there's no seam along the bottom here. So I ended up cutting a piece 10 inches wide by 9 inches tall for the exterior and 10 inches wide, 9 inches tall for the interior. I use double-sided tape for putting my zippers in because, especially with this fuzzy fabric, this stuff has quite a bit of stretch. This one, I actually put it in so that the direction of the stretch, which isn't huge on fleece, but the direction of the stretch went this way so that it was more stable for sewing in the zippers, but I did use double-sided tape. Now, the one I was using was Dritz Wonder Tape, and it always was a bit frustrating because it would dry out around the roll, around the outside of the roll. If it dried out, you'd then end up wasting a few inches of it because you had to peel some off to get to the sticky part. This one that my friend gave me in my little Christmas goodie bag is a different brand. And the sticky side is inside there, and it sticks really well. I don't know if it's specifically designed for fabric, but I asked her where she got it, and she said she got it from Amazon at the recommendation of somebody on the Creative Bag Making group on Facebook. And it's sold as a double-sided sticky tape for paper crafts and things like that. It works brilliantly for putting in zippers. It didn't gum up my needle. I didn't notice any sticking on the needle. I don't know if it's a washout tape, but considering I rarely ever wash my bags and you can't see it when it's sewn in, it's not a big deal really. The zippers are in and the fabric did not shift. That was lovely. So what I can do is I can put a link to the Amazon item in the description box under the video because I am going to get some of this. The Wonder Tape by Dritz. I think I used to pay about $11 for one roll. It may have gone up since then. This stuff is $11.99 for 6 rolls, and there's 25 meters in each roll. I'm buying some for sure. Okay. So I think it's probably time for me to go up and make Mr. Stitches a hot drink to end the day with. So I'll talk to you again tomorrow probably and show you what else I've been making. Good morning. It is now Friday and I wanted to show you the finished cowl. I had a little bit of a glitch with it. There was a little bit of frogging and re-knitting, but I'm glad I did. I'm not going to pull it over my hair, but here it is. So it's constructed from this side. You just do a little bit of ribbing, about 32 rounds of stockinette. Although yesterday when I was having tea with my friends, I was merrily knitting away and forgot about the row count. I suddenly went, oh, wait, I have to check my row count. And I was a couple over, but I was like, whatever, it does not matter. And then you do a bit of ribbing on this half and cast it off or bind it off. And then you carry on working flat with decreases on either side. So it has a garter stitch border down to the point, and there's a nice neat row of decreases on each side. Well, I got to about here last night because I was, you know what it's like when you're decreasing and you feel like you're on a downward slope and it's speeding up and you just want to get there to the end. Well, I was doing that. I said to my husband, I'm going to stay up until I finish this thing. So I got to about here and realized I had an odd number of stitches instead of an even number, and it was obviously somewhere where I had forgotten to decrease. Well, way back up here somewhere, there was a little jog So obviously I had messed up around here. So I ripped back about 20 rows and then redid it. But it's really cool. The one downside to switching from in the round knitting to flat knitting is that my gauge changes, because when I'm knitting in the round, it's all just knit, right? You're always looking at the right side or front of the fabric. You're just knitting, 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 you get stuck in it. Never have to purl. As soon as you turn towards the flat knitting, you're knitting one way and purling back. And my purls are looser. I knit continental, hold the yarn in my left hand, and I can definitely see that my gauge changed on that little section there. No one will notice when it's being worn, because it'll be against your neck, or your chest, really. But if you look carefully, I don't know if you can tell, but I know I looked at it yesterday and you could definitely see what they call rowing out. It's probably hard to tell with the dark yarn and with the variegation, but you get this thing called rowing out on the back where, here I can see it, where you can see that your purl stitches were looser than your knit stitches, and so the reverse stockinette looks like it's in pairs of ridges rather than evenly spaced across. No big deal, really. So it fits well. It's nice and soft and fuzzy, and I think that would be really cozy to wear, but minimalistic for people who don't like a lot of bulk around their neck. So I'm happy with that, and it only took me a couple of days to make it. So I'm really happy about that too. So right now I'm going to turn off the camera because I want to set things up to film some sewing, and I'm not sure if it's going to work out the way I have planned. So I'll see you in a bit. It's Sunday, and I think I started recording this vlog on Thursday, and I can't remember everything I've talked about. I think all I've said so far is about the fluffy pouches. I think I mentioned the fluffy pouch experiments, and I may have mentioned about the 5 granny square pouches, which are so fun. And I'm going to have to make another one for myself of those, I think. So after that, I had every intention of making a tutorial for one of these. In fact, before I got stuck into the chenille and the fleece, I had every intention of making a tutorial for one of those little yarn bowl type things. And I got sidetracked, and you may have noticed that I just published a tutorial for those fluffy zipper pouches. So these are what I made during that tutorial. 5 of the leopard print or some other cat, I don't know, but it's rather nice. It's got blue in it. And if you haven't watched the tutorial, I'll just show you the lining that I used in there. Very pretty cotton. And those are going in the box of stuff for the craft market for one day. Still no decisions made on that. I really need to follow up on that. I hope I haven't missed a notification about that, because if I leave it too late, I'll miss the boat and I won't get into the market I want to get into. Now, I showed you this before. That was probably on Friday. This is why I should probably just wait and do it all in one go. So the Nottawa Saga Cowl, Yerbo, I think you say it that way, cookie yarn from Hobie, and it's 100% acrylic, and it's lovely colours. And I forgot to say I used 40 grams of yarn, which is 120 meters, which is about 137 yards, I think. So in theory, I could make another one the same, because I had 100 grams of that cake left, about half the cake. And I should be able to squeeze another one out of that same cake. Maybe I will. It only took me a couple of days to make it. It was a fun, quick knit, except for the part where I had to rip back and redo that front point. That's an idea. I'll think on that one. Another little finish is a mushroom. Definitely not supposed to be like any specific mushroom out there. I went with the colors I had. And it's just another of the little amigurumi that I'm making from scrap yarn that's left over from something else. I originally thought that yarn came from Michael's, but it didn't. It came from the store where I was working, and I didn't buy it. When one of the other ladies left, she destashed some yarn and I got to keep it. It was kind of a braided thing. You may know about the ones that Karen used to do. Karen had a braided multicolor skein for a while of different colors, and there was maybe 10 grams of each color, 10 colors, something like that. And it looked nice, but then you had to take it all apart and kind of wind it into little balls to use it. Well, this was like the generic store brand version of it, and it's not nice stuff. It's very splitty, but for making fun little amigurumis, it works well. That's 4 little things I've made out of that yarn now, and I have some navy left and grey, and I think some more of the yellow. So who knows what's going to come out of that next. I just start making a circle and then it builds into something, and I never know what it's going to be until it starts to take shape. But it's fun. Talking about crochet things that are fun, I got this amazing library book out of the library this week. This is the best crochet book I've ever seen. It's called Crochet Impkins. It's by Megan Lapp. And when I looked on Amazon to see how much it cost in Canadian dollars, I see she's got 2 other books that look amazing too. You could get a lifetime of crocheting out of this book. The little characters are just the most adorable things, and look at the safety eyes she uses. They're like the Rolls-Royce of safety eyes, aren't they? I had a look at the website she recommends in the US for buying them. Apparently there's another source for them in the UK. And they're like $3 to $5 per pair for these safety eyes. They're so special. And would I consider buying them? It would have to be a pretty special occasion. Apparently they're hand painted to order. But what's lovely about this book is it's not just here's like half a dozen different variations to make. This has got, she reckons there's over 1 million possible combinations, and she's probably right, because you get to choose. I'll just have a quick look at the front part. So you get to choose from body styles, arms, antennae, belly, ears, face, hats and hairstyles, horns and antlers, scales, tails and wings. Oh, and there's more. And clothing, neck ornamentation and accessories. So I'll just give you a quick peek. So there's a kind of a unicorn version there. There's this guy with his antennae. Can you see it? Or am I too glary on the lamp there? I think this one has to be my favorite though. I think it's the one from the cover. So adorable. So you could make something different every day of the year for years, just by changing up the arms, the accessories, the antennae, the hats. Oh, there's one in here which has the most adorable little cape on. See if I can find it. There's one with a cape. So much glare. Oh, it's amazing. And it's so tempting to get it for myself. But I would probably make one and then I would be like, oh, that was fiddly. I'm not going to make another one ever again. Amigurumi are lovely when they're done. I'm just not crazy about the actual process sometimes. But I will definitely enjoy this book, and I think I should probably make at least one thing from it. So I should pick one style of each thing and make something fun out of this. I think the current loan period at my library is a month. That would give me plenty of time to make something cute, wouldn't it? The last couple of days have been so grey and damp and foggy. I don't mind that, except yesterday I was so cold. I had a non-sewing day today, which felt really weird. I kept feeling fidgety and thinking maybe I should just go downstairs and sew something. And I thought, no, it's good to give myself the day off because I have been doing so much sewing lately that it's good to take a break. I was so cold that I pulled out the big guns, and that is my super, super big chunky sweater. I had to look on Ravelry to see exactly when I made this, and it was 2018. So if ever you want to go look at my project pages on Ravelry, I'm Nicolaknits on there. Make sure I'm showing you the right way, because I did do a couple of short rows to raise the back of the neck. Here we go. So this is an absolutely massively heavy jumper, sweater. It's got a ribbed turtleneck, or polo neck as we used to call them back in old Blighty. And can't remember whether I knitted it top down or bottom up. Not sure. However, I did do it without a pattern because I had previously knitted bottom up and top down sweaters and various other versions before. And so I thought I just want a super, super chunky sweater that's really, really warm. I used 4 strands of Red Heart Super Saver for this. 4 strands, 10mm needles, absolutely massive. Took me 2 weeks. And it's lasting really well, although I have to say that the reason it's lasting really well is that it has to be really cold for me to wear it. But I was quite proud of myself because I did a folded contrast hem on the cuffs and on the hem of the body, which is something I had seen Elizabeth Zimmerman do. Elizabeth Zimmerman, that didn't come out right. Blech. I used some Stylecraft Special Aran, just a single strand, I think. Nope, it's a double strand. Double strand of Stylecraft Special Aran with smaller needles to make the hems. And if I made it again, which I'm probably not going to do, but if I made it again, I would have made the body and sleeves a little bit longer. This seems to be a common theme with my sweaters, that I don't make them long enough. When I wear this, the sleeve sort of comes to maybe just here, but for a super warm sweater, you feel like it should be supersized in every area, right? It's really heavy. It weighs about 1,200 grams. I don't know what that is in ounces. See what else I wrote down about it. 2018, 2 weeks, no pattern, 4 strands of yarn. Yeah. So I had to bring that out yesterday. It was the only thing that would warm me up enough when I was feeling really chilled from it being a damp day. And then today I'm wearing another grey sweater. I'm wearing my first Sporto sweater, which has the hood. It doesn't have kangaroo pocket or anything, which is what it had in the original pattern. It's a free pattern on nitty.com. And you may have seen me wearing this before. Now, this one I made in 2022. Took me about 6 weeks. I originally, again, made the sleeves too short, so I ended up ripping back and extending the cuffs and making thumb holes. This sweater's looking really pilly now because I've worn this one a lot, but it's so soft and it's not quite so hot because it's just the one strand of worsted weight yarn. And the good thing about it is it took about 5 skeins of worsted weight and they were on clearance, so it cost me about $15 to make. I am aware that I really need to get on that other tutorial for that yarn bowl / storage pod / hanging basket thing. So I think I should probably just get on that now. It's Monday, and I hope you have enjoyed the videos that I've put up in the last couple of days. I did a tutorial for the fuzzy zipper pouch, and I did a tutorial for the little yarn bowl thing. I posted in the Denim Upcyclers Facebook group about my tutorial for that, and they all seemed pretty keen. So I hope it worked out well. I did prefer the angle that I used for that tutorial, and I've already had a comment on it saying that it does seem to work better than the one from before, so that's good. Mr. Stitches was out all morning getting his first radiation of the week and also meeting up with his nurse practitioner. They are adjusting his chemo dose to half as much tomorrow. He's been getting quite bad tinnitus or tinnitus, depending on how you want to say it. And so they're messing about with that. And then if it works out fine, then that's okay. If not, they might switch him to a different chemo drug. It does sound like, because they caught his throat cancer early, that it wouldn't be the end of the world if they stopped the chemo early. And so that's good news. He also had to go and get blood taken because that's always a thing that happens the day before chemo. They want to make sure your kidneys and everything are working well and that you don't have an excess of the wrong thing in your blood. But he's back home. I fed him up and we'll probably be going out for a walk later. It's cleared up a little bit. Again, we were absolutely shrouded in fog this morning when I got up. I probably look tired. I had a late night last night, and then I got up fairly early this morning. And my hair's driving me nuts. It may not look long to you, but to me this is long because I buzzed it all off last summer and I booked myself a haircut for next week. She couldn't see me as soon as I wanted because she has a holiday planned. But never mind. So I know I've got a bunch of footage to put up for the next vlog, so this is going to be the final little segment. I was just having a play with a tutorial by Diane Spencer-Ogg. You might have heard of Spencer-Ogg bag patterns. She has the most incredible designs, and a lot of her bag patterns are paid ones, but she does have a few freebies, and this one is called, I need to remember myself now, the Rapid Raw Edge Phone and Card Case. I have quite a stash of vinyl remnants and one big chunk of something that I actually paid for full price because it was so cool. So the first one I made was this kind of boring bluey one. All you do is you measure your phone and add 2 centimeters to get the width of the fabric you need to cut and the height. This is designed for either cork, vinyl or leather because there's no edge treatments at all. As she said, raw edge, so you don't want to use a fabric that's going to fray. And it's really easy. Really, the main challenge with this is getting it to all line up and look nice. I originally did her idea of the slightly angled cut on the pocket and then the curved edge here. But what you do is you top stitch this part first, and then when you sew it together, you sew from the bottom up and try and match up your stitches here. I found that a challenge. I did consider with the second one going down the other way, but then you'd be fighting against this pocket top here, and I thought it does make more sense to sew it from the bottom. So the second one worked out a little better. This is this cool vinyl. Oh, isn't it fun? It's sort of abstract, but sort of reminds you of cityscapes and New York skylines or something like that. I don't know, probably makes people think of different things depending on what part of the pattern you focus on, but it's rather fun. And with this one, I did a straight cut here instead of a curve, which is great because you didn't have to draw anything in. I just put my quilt ruler across and just cut it wherever I felt looked good. And I kept with the angled cut on this pocket. So the premise is that you just slide your phone into that main compartment and then you can put credit cards or whatever into the outer pockets. And this worked way better. I stitched along and up, and then I stopped here, and yep, it met up pretty well. And I think with it being straight lines across the top and that diagonal part instead of a curve, it was easier to maintain a neat top stitch and equal distance from the edge all the way over. I'm rather pleased with that one. I might make a few of these. Having cleared off one of my desks in here this morning to put all my inventory on, it really highlights to me how much more sewing I need to do. There's a lot more. I would want to go absolutely loaded down with inventory because I don't know what's going to sell. If it's going to sell, I'm so confident. And I thought the more I have and the more variety I have, then if one thing turns out to be a flop, I have other things that might appeal to people. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support, being here, leaving your comments and likes. I appreciate every single one. And I'll no doubt talk to you again soon. Bye for now.